overall it is going to be a chilly start. Many towns and cities around the mid-single figures. We could also see some mist and fog patches through the early hours. These should lift and clear away relatively quickly through the course of the morning. Still some scattered showers around coasts of Scotland, but otherwise a dry, bright start to the day, but feeling cold with some patchy frost. We'll start to see some thicker areas of cloud push their way into Northern Ireland, also elsewhere across western areas of Wales and southwest England. But for the large majority, it should be a dry but chilly start to the day. Now, some spells of sunshine during the first part of the morning, but some thicker cloud will edge its way in from the west, creating any sunshine more in the way of hazy spells of sunshine. And then through the course of the afternoon, we will see some outbreaks of rain start to push their way into Northern Ireland and some western areas of England, Wales and also Scotland, and some quite strong blustery winds associated with this, particularly around exposed coasts of Northern Ireland. Still on the chilly side, highs reaching around 14 to 15 degrees Celsius in the south. Now for Friday, Halloween, we'll see a mix of sunshine and showers, but some of these showers could be quite intense, merging into longer spells of rain as they push their way in from the west. A good chance we could see some hail and thunder associated with these, and it is set to be quite a blustery day for all, and that includes into the evening if you are out trick-or-treating, and then we'll see a continuation of the sunshine and showers over the weekend. That's it from me, bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good evening, you're watching State of the Nation on GB News with me, Charlie Peters, standing in for the one and only Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg. On State of the Nation tonight.
Calamity Lammy strikes again. It's a national embarrassment.
Well, Britain's migration crisis is spiralling further out of control as Hadush Kabatu is sent back to Ethiopia with a £500 handout. A Somali failed asylum seeker is jailed for life after murdering a man in a high street bank, and Scottish barracks are set to be used to house migrants as the numbers overflow. Is the government ever going to get a grip on this crisis? Also tonight.
Have blood in your hands. Blood in your hands. Shame.
Anti-Semitism on university campuses continues as more reports of harassment of Jewish students and staff emerge, and after students at the LSE demanded the shutdown of an event documenting sexual violence on the October 7th attacks. We'll be asking, are our universities at risk of becoming breeding grounds for terrorism? And
digital right to work check, you can do it with your phone as opposed to having to rummage around for a passport or a utility bill which your employer has to photocopy.
There's been a new twist in a digital ID row as the Prime Minister's Chief Secretary Darren Jones declares the need to shut down the legacy state and rebuild society under a digital ID system. Is this a step into the modern world or a move towards an Orwellian nightmare? Plus, a feminist activist is potentially facing vandalism charges after being accused of damaging a trans activist's umbrella. Has law and order completely lost its way in Britain? State of the Nation starts now. And I'm very lucky tonight because I'm joined by Adam and Eve on the panel. Yes, it's the editorial director at Guido Fawkes, Adam Cherry, and the political commentator, Eve McQuillan. Great to have your company, both of you. And as ever, let me know your views and your comments. You know where to go by now, don't you? gbnews.com/your say. But first, it's time to get your latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Charlie, thank you, and good evening to you. Just after 8 o'clock, the top story tonight: the migrant sex offender mistakenly released from prison has claimed he tried to hand himself in to police the day before his arrest. Hadush Kabatu has told Sky News he approached officers in London on Saturday saying he was a wanted man, but was ignored. The Met Police, though, say there is no evidence of that, insisting his behaviour looked more like he was trying to avoid arrest. Kabatu, who sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl in Essex, has since been deported to Ethiopia, receiving a £500 payment after threatening to disrupt his removal flight. Downing Street says that payment was an operational decision to avoid costly delays. Breaking tonight, a major Microsoft outage has hit services worldwide, disrupting Heathrow Airport, NatWest, Asda and even Minecraft. The company says a global DNS issue has caused widespread problems across its Azure cloud platform and Microsoft 365 services like Outlook and Teams. Some UK users have also reported issues with the O2 network, while in the US, Starbucks is among the companies affected. Microsoft has said it is rerouting traffic to restore services. A 22-year-old man, Safi Dawood, has been charged with murder and attempted murder after a triple stabbing in Uxbridge that left dog walker Wayne Broadhurst dead. A 45-year-old man remains in hospital with life-changing injuries, and a 14-year-old boy was also stabbed, but he is expected to recover. The Home Office says Dawood, an Afghan national, arrived in the UK by lorry in 2020 and was then granted asylum 2 years later. Police say the attack is not being treated as terrorism, and detectives are now investigating the motive. That comes as a small boat migrant who stabbed a man to death inside a Derby High Street bank has been jailed today for life, with a minimum term of 25 years. 47-year-old Somali national Habi Nur pleaded guilty to murdering 37-year-old Govinda Dani Johal at Derby Crown Court. Nur launched the random attack inside a Lloyds bank on St Peter's Street in May. just moments after angrily complaining about his refused asylum claim. Mr Johal was sadly pronounced dead at the scene after being stabbed multiple times. Arrests for illegal working have soared to their highest level since records began. More than 8,000 migrants now detained across the UK. It follows an immigration enforcement blitz of over 11,000 raids since October last year, leading to more than 1,000 deportations. The Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood says the Home Office has failed to meet the challenge of repeated crises, but insists she'll do whatever it takes to secure Britain's borders. And Israel says it's carried out a fresh strike on Gaza, accusing Hamas of preparing an imminent terror attack. As fears grow, the fragile ceasefire there could soon collapse. The Israeli military says it's hit a weapons storage site, claiming it was being used to plan an assault on IDF troops. It follows a night of heavy bombardment that reportedly killed more than 100 people, including children. It came just hours after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered powerful strikes in response to what he called repeated Hamas violations. The group, though, denies breaking the ceasefire, but the IDF says it will continue to uphold the agreement while removing any immediate threats. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back with the full roundup at 9. Now, though, it's over to Charlie.
Thank you, Sam. Now, Britain's migration crisis is spiralling out of control, and some are now calling for the declaration of a national emergency. Just today, we've learned of 3 major scandals related to illegal immigration. The convicted sex offender Hadush Kabatu, who crossed the channel illegally, was mistakenly released from prison, recaptured after a manhunt and deported to Ethiopia. But he was sent back with a £500 payout to keep him quiet and prevent any legal challenges. Now, the government says our streets are now safer. But how and why did the authorities allow this man to be released after the highly publicised case of him sexually assaulting a woman and a 14-year-old girl? Well, in an interview this evening on Sky News, Kabatu stated that he attempted to surrender to authorities the day before his arrest, but was ignored by police. Now, anything this man says should be taken with scepticism, yet being platformed may, to many, be seen as an insult to the victims. In Derby, a Somali illegal migrant known to police across 4 European countries was today jailed for life after stabbing a father of 3 to death in a bank. His asylum claim had already been rejected, yet he was still being housed at public expense. The attack on 37-year-old Javinder Singh Gahal is said by authorities to have been random and occurred shortly after Nur angrily complained that his asylum claim had been rejected. The failed asylum seeker had previously been arrested for violence and public order offences in December, when he was heard shouting racist expletives about the English and white people while running into traffic. A great person to keep around in the country. But he was still able to go on and murder an innocent man. And now in Scotland, we're learning that with migrant hotels overflowing, Cameron Barracks in Inverness is now being converted to hold more asylum seekers, sparking backlash from locals worried about the strain on public services and community cohesion. Now, we've seen the grooming gang scandal escalate. We've seen machete attacks and multiple murders by illegal migrants, all just in the past few weeks. Britons are furious about a government that talks tough but acts with weakness. More and more people are reporting that they no longer feel safe in public. And this isn't scaremongering, it's reality. And unless the government gets a grip, detains, deports and removes all illegal migrants, undocumented, unaccounted for, and with no right to be here, we cannot call ourselves a serious country. Well, to discuss this, it's my panel editorial director at Guido Fawkes, Adam Cherry, and the political commentator, Eve McQuillan. Eve, I'm going to start with you. Not a serious country. That's my view, and it's the view of many of our viewers at the moment, seeing the shambles playing out with our borders. What's your take?
So my take, particularly with this man who's been deported today back to Ethiopia, is, and it makes me very angry, why this individual has been released from prison after 2 months and is being sent back to a country where he has expressed that he wants to go to, And we have no guarantee that he's going to be jailed there. This is somebody who sexually assaulted a child, and we're not punishing him.
So you think he should face British justice and spend more time in jail here?
And I think it's an insult to his victims that he's not facing British justice. This £500, I get that it's to save the taxpayer money, but that's just it's like spitting in people's faces when people are seeing a child abuser being able to get what he wants and not facing justice.
Adam, this £500, it seems as though it's been paid essentially to prevent him from going through the legal arrangements that the ECHR would have given him an opportunity to stay in Britain.
Yeah, the Home Office thought this was the most cost-efficient way to get him out of the country. And given the manhunt and the immense political pressure they were under in the last 48 hours or so, they just thought, you know what, fine, let's hand over that cash. A year's salary in Ethiopia, 500 quid, thank you very much, takes the money and off he goes. I think it's just absurd. And, you read out a few examples in just the last few weeks. The public is not just furious about this, but absolutely incandescent. I don't know how much longer we can continue to have these sort of stories emerging in the papers and news broadcasts without more serious unrest. I think it's looking pretty grisly.
I mean, Eve, some of the stories that we're talking about, some of these horrific occasions, in years gone by, if something like this happened, we'd expect the PM to visit the scene, we'd see it on the front page of all the papers, we'd see wall-to-wall coverage. You get the sense now, don't you, that it's almost been normalised, this relentless churn of extreme violence, sexual violence, murder, coming from asylum seekers, undocumented men who've arrived in Britain through a route that no one has managed to shut down.
So what I'm getting the sense of, really, is that the government is not that serious of getting to grips with this problem properly. So we've had the announcement that people are going to be housed in barracks. Now, we know that that is more expensive than housing people in hotels, but this is deliberate, performative cruelty to a whole group of people because politically, it seems good. There are many people who do not commit horrific crimes who are now going to be housed in what are essentially prison camps because of these individuals. We need to get on top of these individuals.
Have you been to Cameron Barracks in Inverness?
I've not been to Cameron Barracks in Inverness. I go to military barracks on holiday.
Well, I used to be a soldier in Scotland as a reservist up there. I mean, my battalion went there for a training camp and it was absolutely fine. 20-man rooms. It's not obviously luxury accommodation, but if you're fleeing persecution, as many of these people claim, when of course often they're economic migrants who are just seeking a better life in Britain. A barracks is not cruel persecution. It's good enough for our soldiers. Why is it too bad for migrants?
Our soldiers who have chosen to be there, and I think that is the crucial thing.
They've chosen to cross Britain and into Britain illegally.
They haven't chosen to be housed in barracks. It's the Refugee Council have said that this will exacerbate people's trauma from torture, etc. We want a system where those who are genuine get asylum quickly and fairly and become part of society, and those who don't.
Adam, you've heard it, they're saying it's a cost issue. These are more expensive than hotels. But a lot of people see this and they think, actually, it's about safety. Keeping them in barracks, away from the community, that's a smarter move.
I think so. I mean, it does speak to the lack of faith they have in their own ability to deport these people in the first place. I think we're going to have to rely on these super expensive barracks rather than just getting them out of the country as soon as possible. They still continue to be housed here. Also, by the way, on the question of hotels in the first place, they say they want to close them all these asylum hotels by 2029 or stop using them for that purpose. But there are already contracts which suggest that they're going to push this into the 2030s anyway. Now, whether the Labour government is still there by then is another question. But there is such little faith within government that really they can do anything serious about this. OK, we might talk about whether they're going to declare a national emergency or talk tough again, or Keir Starmer's going to do another speech where he's very solemn. Yes, very bad. This is so terrible. They don't have the political will or the nous, I think, to handle this. And I think this is just emblematic of exactly why, of that problem.
Do you get the sense now there have been these mutterings, Adam, in Westminster, that some Labour figures might have started to realise that perhaps everything that they said was evil, that they're now starting to do a bit of themselves with these camps, for example, might be the stuff they need to do. Do you think there's a possibility that perhaps out of desperation they might have a Rwanda-style scheme coming forward?
Well, they're looking at returns agreements, but you hit the nail on the head there. In the last couple of years, I mean, my colleague Max Young did a story on this today on our website. There are several examples over the last couple of years of Labour MPs. I think Yvette Cooper was one of them. A couple of the then shadow cabinet, now cabinet ministers saying the same thing, which is that military barracks are a cruel and unnecessary way of handling this problem. And now they're staring this in the face themselves. They're at the coalface and they've gone, oh, actually, you know what? Smashing the gangs hasn't worked. These numbers are skyrocketing and we've still got people coming across our border and we need to do something about it. The rubber's hit the road.
Eve, the Home Office put out a statement tonight that Vietnamese migrants with no right to be here. They'll be fast-tracked out of the UK under a tough new migration agreement with Vietnam. Vietnamese were the largest single nationality of small boats arrivals in the first quarter of 2024. The government will point to these agreements and the new sort of approaches they're taking and say, look, we are taking action, we are speeding up deportations, but we do have bigger numbers in 2025 in terms of arrivals than we ever had for the whole of 2024. Do you think these sorts of agreements are going to be enough?
See, in my opinion, the solution to this is diplomatic. That's the way that you get people to go back. You need these agreements, and it's also the way that you should actually deal with this problem so that people aren't forced into those dangerous journeys. So it's not just young men who are the people able to do those journeys. You need diplomatic agreements across countries to deal with the fact that there are so many people becoming refugees in the world. So this is the right track. What I think with all of these things, like the barracks thing, this is trying to be cruel to get headlines. It's not serious. This isn't going to seriously reduce the numbers. And until the government takes that diplomatic approach, nothing will actually change.
OK, Eve and Adam, thank you very much for your time. Coming up in a moment on State of the Nation.
You have blood in your hands. Blood in your hands. Shame.
Anti-Semitism on university campuses continues to rise as students at the LSE demanded the shutdown of an event documenting sexual violence on the October 7th attacks. Are our universities at risk of becoming breeding grounds for terrorism?
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
It's about this project. What are you doing with it, and what are you hoping to achieve?
Hi, Stephen. Hi, Anne. Hope you're well.
Hi. Yes.
I'm partnering with Genesis Care, which is a private healthcare company, and basically following their research, which shared that the number one fear of people who get diagnosed with glioblastoma is that they lose their memories. Now, that's obviously affects me because Tom was my brother, and his 2 points in his life was raising awareness to treatments and the power of positivity. Tom's family were called the Positive Parkers, and we were an extension of the Positive Parkers. So Genesis Care have created this campaign called the Memory Bank, which is an art installation that basically you go to. It was in the Westgate Shopping Centre in Cambridge, and now it's in the Genesis Care Centre.
Just here in the UK, it's about 13,000 people are diagnosed with this sort of primary brain tumour, glioblastoma, as you were saying. Did Tom ever say that was his greatest fear, was losing his memory?
He didn't really. Tom lived in the moment. He never made us feel like he was diagnosed. He was always positive. Even in his worst days, he'd come in with a smile on his face. And what comes to mind is he'd go into an interview like this and say wonderful things about life, like such spiritual, deep messages. And I'd turn to him and I'd say, Tom, that was just phenomenal. And he'll say, like, I've no idea what I just said.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to State of the Nation with me, Charlie Peters. Now, reports of anti-Semitism on Britain's university campuses are intensifying At the London School of Economics, protesters in masks chanted "Zionists off our campus" and demanded the shutdown of an event examining sexual violence committed during the October 7th attacks. An Instagram post from the LSE Students for Justice in Palestine read, "We demand LSE to cancel this event immediately. We demand our institution to not be part of the weaponisation of sexual violence to justify genocide. We condemn the abuse of LSE's academic standing to lend legitimacy to Zionism, a fascist ideology that requires the extermination of the indigenous population." Well, across the country, Jewish students and academics say they're being harassed and threatened as extremist slogans and celebrations of violence spread online. So is this growing hostility and apparent lack of action turning our universities into breeding grounds for radicalisation? Well, I'm joined now by security expert Anthony Glees. Anthony, thank you very much for joining us this evening. You've written a book called "When Students Turn to Terror." When you see the reports we've just described at the LSE, do you see that as a potential breeding ground for extremism?
Oh, without any doubt at all. I mean, what we're seeing is horrifying. It's 100% worrying. And for this reason, that many of our students in the UK seem too daft to be able to distinguish between Jewish people, Zionists, that is to say, people who think there should be a national home for Jews in their traditional homeland in the Middle East, and supporters of the Israeli government at the moment. Many Israelis, of course, don't support that government themselves. For too many British students, all these people are one and the same. And particularly if they have Jewish-sounding names, they are being targeted and harassed in a completely unacceptable way. I mean, some of the things that we read they're saying about put Zionists in the ground. I mean, that is an exhortation to kill Jews, and that we should be listening to this sort of stuff in 2025 on our universities is simply not on. I think the problem is not just what's going on in the Middle East. It's perfectly legitimate to feel that the Israeli government is waging the wrong war, or has waged the wrong war. We hope that it's over in Gaza. I think that myself, and said so on many occasions. But the fact that you have people who are using the new law passed in 2023, but came into force on the 1st of August this year, that gives external speakers at universities the same sort of rights that should be properly given to academics. Okay. So, in effect, turning universities into soapboxes for all kinds of crazes is just has to stop.
OK, Anthony, looking through some of the people who appeared to support this emergency rally, as it was termed, to shut down this event, discussing some of the horrifying sexual violence perpetrated by Hamas on October the 7th, I saw one person who was a candidate for the LSE Student Union Women's Officer, and also an academic who regularly researches issues around, gender and sexual violence. What might bring someone of those sorts of backgrounds to support shutting down an event about sexual violence? Does that point to a level of radicalisation that's already taken place?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it points to brainwashing, not just radicalisation. Students are being brainwashed, as I say. Many of them seem too daft to be able to tell the difference between the various categories involved. And that radicalisation will lead to further problems, particularly as long as the law says universities have got to allow external speakers the same sort of freedoms that are reserved, should be reserved, only to academics on campus. What does that mean? It means you can have extremist, Islamist preachers and activists coming onto campus, speaking freely. Yes, the higher education law says what they say mustn't be illegal, but, most universities are almost completely unpoliced spaces. How are you going to find out what what people are saying. And what we saw happening over 25 years ago is that extremists came onto campus, spoke to students of all religious backgrounds and none, and turned a small number of them into jihadists who went on to commit acts of terror in the UK. A high proportion of the acts of terror committed in the UK over the past 25 years have come from people who've been through the higher or further education system. That's a terrible indictment of our universities. And to see it happening again, that would be absolutely unforgivable. The law needs to be changed. The 2023 law is daft in that respect. The only people who should have academic freedom of speech are academics.
Okay, Anthony Glees, security expert, thank you very much for your time this evening. Still joining the studio, my panel, Adam Fawkes.
Adam Fawkes, I'll take it, mate. I've got the beard now.
Guido Fawkes. We're getting close to November. I'm getting carried away.
Warming up for it, you know.
What Anthony was saying there, though, Adam, talking about Mr. Cherry, talking about basically the problem we've got here is free speech. I mean, I think that argument's a bit controversial, actually. I mean, to shut down external speakers. Is that the answer?
Look, I think universities have had a serious problem with free speech and with gullible students not liking the views of those, not platforming those who have differing views themselves arriving in their campuses. Since you know, when I was at university and before that, and now obviously the current flavour of the month is anti-Semitism, or certainly getting close to it. I think this certainly qualifies the footage we've seen here in the last couple of days. Yeah, look, I don't know how you necessarily tackle this.
Yeah,
I think it's gone too far.
Eva, are you confident that sort of progressive voices on campus can take on people who are trying to shut down events talking about sexual violence?
So I was not able to hear what the speaker was saying, but what I will say is that I do have confidence that our universities generally are able to handle these issues sensitively. Clearly, there are situations where these are heavily contested issues, and it's worrying, frankly, that students aren't able to discuss sexual violence, and that our debate about Israel and Palestine has got to such a state where if you are pro-Palestinian and if you support the rights of the Palestinian people, that means that you support sexual violence against Jewish people. And what we should be saying is that a war crime does not allow another war crime, and that all war crimes are bad, and how we've got so far away from that where you cannot recognise the trauma of what happened on October the 7th and also recognise the horror of hospitals being bombed. I don't understand.
Okay. Eva Quillen and Adam Cherry, thank you very much. Now, an LSE spokesperson said that academic freedom underpins everything we do at LSE. Our code of practice on free speech is designed to protect and promote lawful freedom of expression on campus, including the right to peacefully protest. The school endeavours to provide an environment that facilitates discussion and debate within the law, where the views of all parties are treated with respect, and every possible effort is taken to ensure that we promote and facilitate a wide range of viewpoints through our programme of events and other forms of knowledge. The Department for Education said there is absolutely no place for anti-Semitism, hate speech or violence in our society. Everyone is entitled to their political opinions and has the right to campaign on issues, but any action must be conducted lawfully. While universities are responsible for setting their policies to keep students and staff safe, this government expects universities to tackle harassment on campus robustly, act decisively and work with the police where needed. Well, we have got some breaking news for you now, because the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has admitted breaching housing... Yeah, that breaking news. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has admitted breaching housing regulations by renting out her family home without a licence. The Mail has revealed that Reeves put her Dulwich property on the market for £3,200 a month after moving into Downing Street, but failed to secure the required landlord licence from Southwark Council. Now, the Chancellor has since referred herself to the Independent Ethics Advisor and informed the Prime Minister, and applied for the licence, calling it an inadvertent mistake. Now, the Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, has called the revelations very serious, demanding a full investigation, saying lawmakers can't be lawbreakers. We'll be bringing you more on this developing story throughout the programme. This is State of the Nation, only on GB News.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Generally brighter across many areas of Europe this week, though we can't rule out some rain, particularly across southwestern areas of Spain and also parts of Portugal, all down to an area of low pressure just to the west of the UK, swinging in some fronts at times. Also fairly showery across northern areas of Italy. Sardinia too could also see some spells of heavy showers, but elsewhere across the Mediterranean, pushing into Greece, it should be mostly dry and settled with some sunshine. Now there's still some showers in the forecast over the weekend, but otherwise feeling warm in any side.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It'll be a chilly start as we head into tomorrow, soon turning wet and windy in the west with some hazy spells of sunshine elsewhere. Low pressure has very much been dominating our weather over the past few days, but slight ridge of high pressure means we'll see some slightly drier conditions as we progress through into the evening. Some showers will remain for a time, but these will soon ease away as we head our way towards dawn. Light winds, clear skies, so that means it is going to be turning chilly as we head our way into Thursday. It's likely we'll see some frost, particularly across Scotland, northern areas of England, but for all it is going to be a chilly start. Many towns and cities around the mid-single figures. We could also see some mist and fog patches through the early hours. These should lift and clear away relatively quickly through the course of the morning. Still some scattered showers around coasts of Scotland, but otherwise a dry, bright start to the day, but feeling cold with some patchy frost. We'll start to see some thicker areas of cloud push their way into Northern Ireland, also elsewhere across western areas of Wales and southwest England. But for the large majority, it should be a dry but chilly start to the day. Now some spells of sunshine during the first part of the morning, but some thicker cloud will edge its way in from the west, creating any sunshine more in the way of hazy spells of sunshine. And then through the course of the afternoon, we will see some outbreaks of rain start to push their way into Northern Ireland and some western areas of England, Wales and also Scotland, and some quite strong blustery winds associated with this, particularly around exposed coasts of Northern Ireland. Still on the chilly side, highs reaching around 14 to 15 degrees Celsius in the south. Now for Friday, Halloween, we'll see a mix of sunshine and showers, but some of these showers could be quite intense, merging into longer spells of rain as they push their way in from the west. A good chance we could see some hail and thunder associated with these, and it is set to be quite a blustery day for all, and that includes into the evening if you are out trick-or-treating, and then we'll see a continuation of the sunshine and showers over the weekend. That's it from me, bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to State of the Nation with me, Charlie Peters. Now, back to that breaking news because Chancellor Rachel Reeves has admitted breaching housing regulations by renting out her family home without a licence. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has admitted that she didn't have the proper licence, and the Mail has reported that she listed her Dulwich property for £3,200 a month after moving into Downing Street, but failed to meet Southwark Council's landlord requirements. She's since notified the Prime Minister and referred herself to the independent ethics advisor and applied for the licence, calling it an honest mistake. But Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has described the revelations as very serious, urging a full investigation and warning that lawmakers cannot be lawbreakers. Well, I'm joined now by the former editor of Labour List, Peter Edwards. Peter, thank you very much for joining us on the show this evening. How serious is this for Rachel Reeves not having a licence and renting out her property, because Kenny Badenoch says it's very serious and that lawmakers can't be lawbreakers.
Well, many MPs rent out properties. It's relatively usual. This sounds like a minor technical breach. She's obviously done the right thing by referring herself to the independent ethics advisor. But I must admit that I didn't know the London Borough of Southwark had a licensing regime. There's about 26 London boroughs. Some have this licensing regime for renting out properties and some don't. So, you know, Rachel Reeves has obviously got herself in a bit of short-term political heat, but I suspect at the end of the financial year and after the budget, people are going to be talking about big-ticket financial items and the deficit and not about this.
But, Peter, it does add to that growing problem that Labour has had. In previous before the last election, it sort of touted itself as holier than thou and painted the Conservatives as being sleazy and a little bit hopeless when it came to following their own regulations. Headlines like these won't help Labour, having put forward that vision of themselves.
It's a small headline. I think it will be around for a few days and then go. We've got to keep clear what happened under the Conservatives. And yes, all governments make mistakes and it's good to front up about them. But remember, people were conducting parties in Downing Street the night before a royal funeral, shortly after the height of the pandemic. So that's pretty phenomenal. I don't use the word sleaze lightly, but lack of judgment, lack of taste, lack of respect, all apply. And it was a culture, you know, I think Rishi Sunak, who is clearly a public-spirited guy, it's not him getting a fine at 40 or 50 quid. It's a culture of law-breaking, callousness and selfishness under Boris Johnson that turned off the public. And I found that because I knocked on a lot of doors in the run-up to the election.
Well, Peter, I mean, you say that this headline might be only around for a few days. What you've just referred to was 3 years ago, of course. And as you say, people are still, in some cases, quite angry about it. You're talking about how you heard about it when you were knocking on doors. The problem for Labour is it's not just the only headline, is it? And you might say it's just for now, but in a few days, another might follow. Labour is still reeling from the Angela Rayner revelations about her bolt hole down in Sussex and the information there about stamp duty. For it to be a lot of property-related stories and, you know, accusations of sleaze in this area, as we're expecting Labour to potentially raise taxes and even potentially launch a mansion tax, it's not helpful to sort of preparing the ground for that budget.
Well, Labour isn't reeling at all, and Angela Rayner's been pretty quiet since she resigned, and a new Deputy Prime Minister was appointed within hours, and there's been already a new Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, not a Deputy PM, also appointed in Lucy Powell, who I think is fantastic, having worked with her previously. But look, of course it has been a bad time for the Labour Party and the Labour government, and it would be daft to deny that. But, you know, I think every government goes through this. Every government has resignations. Every government has scandals. What we're talking about, Rachel Reeves tonight, you know, is 0.1 on the scandalometer. It will be forgotten about in a matter of days, and in a way that the pandemic parties and disrespecting the late Queen will not be forgotten. I think what Labour need is economic growth by the time of the next election. We all need to fill that in our pocket because we're all a bit poorer than we were 5 or 10 years ago because of COVID and Brexit. And I think Labour, because you know, people like you have a job in challenging Labour, that's your job. Labour needs a bit more of a narrative about what is the purpose of this government. I think they've done a lot of good things, you know, on the energy company, on settling the doctors' strikes, on rebuilding relations with Europe and America, and so on and so on. Yeah. But it needs a bit of a narrative about what it's doing to make people's lives better. That probably starts with the economy, but goes into public services as well.
All right, editor of Labour List, formerly of Peter Edwards, thank you very much for your time this evening. Well, I'm still joined in the studio by Guido Fawkes' Adam Cherry and political commentator Eve McQuillan. Adam, you've heard it there from Peter Edwards. The problem that Labour has got, it's comms, really. So they're not selling themselves well enough. Look, it's a problem of delivery more than just sort of how they're depicting themselves in the media.
Listen, I like Peter, but I'm just... don't you both feel so happy to finally live in the quiet era of politics where the adults are back in charge, nothing ever goes wrong? The whole point of putting these guys here in the first place was we wouldn't have to worry about this. There wouldn't be... it's just nonsense. I mean, you brought that up in your chat you just had with Peter Edwards there. 3 years ago, if Boris Johnson so much as sneezed, I guarantee you Rachel Reeves would have had her phone out and was tweeting at 1,000,000 miles an hour, calling him the world's worst Prime Minister and so on and so on. I mean, how many times do we have to have a senior cabinet minister pretend they don't understand or claim they don't understand understand their own tax code or whether they need a licence to be a landlord. She's the Chancellor. If she doesn't know, it's nonsense.
Adam, in the most immediate defence I had when I read that piece in the Mail was another licence.
Oh, another licence. Look,
how many licences do you need?
You need a licence for everything in this country. Maybe this could be a lesson for Rachel Reeves. You know, maybe she'll discover her inner libertarian and finally start cutting some red tape. I doubt it, but look, honest mistake, OK, fine, there's another one. Add it to the list.
Eve, when are Labour going to get a good news story out of this current rotation? The news cycle is brutal at the moment, and Peter Edwards there saying, you know, oh, we've done so much great stuff. Seem to be selling the doctor's strike. I'm not really sure about that being a good news story for Labour. But something's got to budge soon, no?
Well, I hope so, because I think this story, more than anything, it's just embarrassing for Labour. This comes the day of the rental reform bill finally becoming law, which has some really big wins for renters like myself, the end to Section 21 evictions, and the fact that the Chancellor doesn't know about landlord licensing, which is one of the best tools that local authorities have to raise standards in the private rented sector, is a bit ridiculous.
You've got a bit of a background here, haven't you?
I have, yes.
Tell us about this.
So once upon a time, I was a councillor and I was responsible for landlord licensing, which is why I know it's one of the best tools that local authorities have when there are some pretty shoddy landlords out there. But I also know, and if you're a tenant, check it out if your landlord needs a licence, because if they haven't got a licence, you can get a rent repayment order and you might be able to get a year's rent back.
Well, you heard Adam and I sort of dismissing the idea of a landlord's licence requirement. How important is it what Rachel Reeves has just done in terms of what she's missed out on?
So potentially it's just a bureaucratic thing if the standards in the home are decent. What this allows councils to do is actually be involved and make sure that standards are decent. So when someone doesn't apply for the licence, they're undermining that regulatory process, which is one of the big teeth that the councils have to make sure that people aren't living in damp, shoddy, overcrowded flats.
Well, it's a nice house in Dulwich, Adam Sherry. I'm not sure that the Chancellor was leaving her tenants in damp and squalid conditions. But you've heard it there from Eve. If she were to be doing that, which of course there's no suggestion that she was, then the lack of licence could allow the authorities not be aware of it.
Look, I just return to the same point. If you don't, do you honestly think that this honest mistake was an honest mistake? I mean,
I do think it was an honest mistake, but I think it is negligent.
Fine. Maybe that's fair. But I will just say that this seems to happen quite a lot with these guys. And, you mentioned comms. They're not doing a very good job of handling it, are they?
I've said gbnews.com/your say, Adam and Eve, they are getting stuck in on this. I'm never going to get bored of saying Adam and Eve. Helena Morley just said, Rachel Reeves getting an extra over 36 grand a year through letting out her property, didn't know the rules. Boris did not eat a bit of cake and he had to go. It does point to that, as we were talking about, that holier-than-thou issue, Eve. Do you think that that's going to be a problem for Labour? As Adam was saying, they sold themselves as the adults back in the room. This is now proper government. We're going to follow the rules. We're going to have the right procedure, the ministerial code and all that. But more and more stories like this keep coming out.
Potentially it could be a problem because people don't have confidence in the government and that government ministers are going to do the right thing and generally be honest about the big decisions. They're not going to have confidence in the government in general.
All right, you two. Right now, a spokesman for Rachel Reeves has said in a statement, since becoming Chancellor, Rachel Reeves has rented out her family home through a lettings agency. She had not been made aware of the licensing requirement, but as soon as it was brought to her attention, she took immediate action and has applied for the licence. This was an inadvertent mistake, and in the spirit of transparency, she has made the Prime Minister the independent advisor on ministerial standards and the Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards aware. Thank you, Peter Edwards, and thank you also to my panel. Well, coming up next, a feminist activist is potentially facing vandalism charges after being accused of damaging a trans activist's umbrella outside the Parliament in Scotland. Has law and order completely lost its way in Britain? Stay tuned to State of the Nation with me, Charlie Peters.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to State of the Nation with me, Charlie Peters, stepping in for Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg. Now, Susan Smith, the director of For Women Scotland, one of the women who forced the Supreme Court to define woman as that of biological sex, has been ordered to attend a police station over a broken rainbow-coloured umbrella. Well, what's the alleged crime? A pro-trans protester has claimed that Mrs Smith broke his rainbow-coloured brolly after she asked him to turn his music system's sound down, despite video evidence of the incident which does not appear to reveal any damage. So, are the police in Scotland guilty of abandoning common-sense policing and kowtowing to a radical LGBT agenda while ignoring the concerns of ordinary women? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now by the External Affairs Officer at the Free Speech Union, Connie Shaw. Connie, thank you so much for coming into the studio this evening. You're working with Susan Smith on this case. Talk us through the timeline of what's happened here.
Yes, so there was a rally outside Holyrood on the 4th of September. Women who are frustrated that the Supreme Court ruling is not being implemented properly and quickly enough. So there were women talking in public about their concerns. Meanwhile, this chap, Tom Harlow, is apparently a prolific trans activist who goes to these events regularly to try and drown out the sound of women who want to speak about their rights. And he was there this time with a massive boombox playing ear-piercingly loud music to try and drown out the sound of these women speaking. Susan, the director, one of the directors from For Women Scotland, went over to politely ask him to turn the music down. The footage of the whole interaction is publicly available. The public can decide whether any damage was made to Tom Harlow's umbrella when he was using it to put in between him and Susan. So it was open, and because it's a rainbow umbrella, each panel is a different colour. Now, that you can see in the video, there's already a bit that's broken, and you can see that Susan lifts the umbrella to get it out of her face. It was very close to her face. And Tom posted publicly that he had reported her to the police for breaking her umbrella. On the 13th of October, Police Scotland got in touch with For Women Scotland asking to speak to Susan over this matter, and the FSU gave her a criminal defence lawyer. And the lawyer got in touch with the police and found out that the Police Scotland want to give her an official police recorded warning, and if she didn't take it, that they would charge her for a minor vandalism offence. So this is the story, and it doesn't seem on the face of it a free speech issue, but clearly you can tell that this chap, Tom Harlow, does not like what these women are saying, and the public can decide what's going on in that video. It's, in my opinion, a clear attempt to get back at women who are saying things that he disagrees with. And every woman who was talking at that event, and at every event that anyone wants to go and speak publicly, has a right to be heard, even if others disagree with them.
Now, Connie, you seem to have done your research with the FSU, supporting Susan Smith, looking at the sort of evidence of damage. Why do you think Police Scotland have come to this conclusion, then, forcing these two options onto this activist, when the evidence, as you put it, doesn't seem to suggest this?
Well, that's a great question, Charlie, and that's the big mystery here. We know for a fact, because we've seen it play out in practice, that the police seem to take complaints from trans activists far more seriously than they can take complaints from women who face harassment. When you go to trans pride events and you see signs that say, you know, the only good turf is a dead turf, and that we should decapitate turfs and bring back witch burning. We have seen the way that the police cooperated with Lindsay Watson over Graham Linehan, the way that they have done it with Harry Miller and Helen Joyce. So it's very concerning about there's a great suspicion here, and I think with good reason, that the police seem to be far more concerned about operating on their behalf, because they have had such intense training on this ideological matter.
Training in perhaps ideological capture. All right, Connie Shaw from the Free Speech Union, thank you so much for your time this evening. Well, in response, a Police Scotland spokesman has said, we are reviewing our response to the protest outside the Scottish Parliament on the 4th of September, which includes the complaint of an umbrella being damaged. A final decision on the outcome of that complaint will not be taken until this review has been completed. Well, that's up from me. That's all from me. Now it's time for Alex Armstrong, who's standing in for Patrick Christys tonight. Alex, what's coming up on your show?
Well, great show, Charlie. Well, of course, we will be talking about that breaking news. Rachel Reeves looks like she's in big trouble. We'll be digging into that. I wonder how many front pages are going to be running that story. Also, do you think your income taxes might be going up? The Prime Minister didn't refuse to say they won't be in PMQs today, and we'll be having a look at all the wasteful spending and where your money might be going. Of course, the week has been dominated by insane headlines about illegal migrants causing chaos across the country. I will be digging into some of these insane stories, quite frankly. We're going to go through all of them. And statues of white people seem to be upsetting a council in London. We've got so much to dig into. I've got a superstar panel with me. Can't wait for you to join me.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It'll be a chilly start as we head into tomorrow, soon turning wet and windy in the west with some hazy spells of sunshine elsewhere. Low pressure has very much been dominating our weather over the past few days, but slight ridge of high pressure means we'll see some slightly drier conditions as we progress through into the evening. Some showers will remain for a time, but these will soon ease away as we head our way towards dawn. Light winds, clear skies, so that means it is going to be turning chilly as we head our way into Thursday. It's likely we'll see some frost, particularly across Scotland, northern areas of England, but for all it is going to be a chilly start. Many towns and cities around the mid-single figures. We could also see some mist and fog patches through the early hours. These should lift and clear away relatively quickly through the course of the morning. Still some scattered showers around coasts of Scotland, but otherwise a dry, bright start to the day, but feeling cold with some patchy frost. We'll start to see some thicker areas of cloud push their way into Northern Ireland, also elsewhere across western areas of Wales and southwest England. But for the large majority, it should be a dry but chilly start to the day. Now, some spells of sunshine during the first part of the morning, but some thicker cloud will edge its way in from the west, creating any sunshine more in the way of hazy spells of sunshine. And then through the course of the afternoon, we will see some outbreaks of rain start to push their way into Northern Ireland and some western areas of England, Wales and also Scotland, and some quite strong blustery winds associated with this, particularly around exposed coasts of Northern Ireland. Still on the chilly side, highs reaching around 14 to 15 degrees Celsius in the south. Now for Friday, Halloween, we'll see a mix of sunshine and showers, but some of these showers could be quite intense, merging into longer spells of rain as they push their way in from the west. A good chance we could see some hail and thunder associated with these, and it is set to be quite a blustery day for all, and that includes into the evening if you are out trick-or-treating, and then we'll see a continuation of the sunshine and showers over the weekend. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop